Hey everyone, this is David Brown from Lyco Birds, and in this video I'm going to show the 7 rarest bird species that I saw at Bombay Hook this summer. Bombay Hook is a national wildlife refuge located in Kent County, Delaware, and it's one of the top birding spots in the state. From the end of June to the beginning of August 2023, I went to Bombay Hook nearly daily for a total of 35 different visits, and these are the rarest birds that I saw. First on the list is this pair of Trumpeter Swans. These birds were first found on June 26th and are still present at Bombay Hook as of recording this video in mid-August. Trumpeter swans are large swans with black bills that are long and sloping, and they can be distinguished from the tundra swans that we might see in Delaware in the winter by their larger size, that longer, more sloping bill, and the lack of yellow here in front of the eye. The third species of swans that we see at Bombay Hook are the invasive mute swans, which you see here on the outside. They're about the same size as the trumpeter swans, but they have an orange bill with a black face. And in this flight shot on the left, we have one of the trumpeter swans. Again, notice that long sloping black bill. And on the right, you'll see the orange bill of the mute swan. And I believe this may be the first state record for Delaware of trumpeter swans. I think there have been a few sightings in the past that maybe weren't well documented or only briefly seen by one person as a flyover, but these birds are showing really well, so everyone was happy to get it on their state list. Next on the list is this breeding plumage Wilson's Fowlerope, and this bird was present from June 26th until July 5th. Fowleropes are shorebirds, and there's only 3 species in the genus: Wilson's Fowlerope, red phalarope, and red-necked phalarope, and all 3 of them are possible to see in the eastern USA, although they're usually uncommon to rare in most areas, so it's usually exciting anytime you see a phalarope. Here we have the Wilson's Phalarope in flight with some short-billed dowitchers. And one interesting thing about phalaropes is that the females have a brighter breeding plumage than the males, so it's opposite of most birds. Usually we think of males as being the really bright, colorful ones, but that has to do with the fact that in phalaropes, the males have the primary responsibility for the nest. So it's to their advantage to be kind of more dull and camouflaged. The third species on the list is little egret. And this photo is not the greatest, but it shows the most important thing, which are these long plumes. This bird was originally found on June 30th and stuck around until at least July 7th, but as time went on, it lost one of its plumes, and then we think it lost both of them, so it became a lot harder to pick out because it looks very similar to some of our other medium-sized egrets, such as snowy egret. Here we have a comparison photo where we have the little egret on the right. In the middle here, we have a snowy egret, and in the back, we have 2 great egrets. So comparing the little egret to the snowy egret, the little egret's a little bit bigger, has a little bit of a thicker bill. It does not have the bright yellow in front of the eye that most adult snowy egrets show, but the most important thing that stood out was those long plumes. Snowy egrets have kind of feathery looking plumes. They're not these long, skinny ones. Number 4 on the list is BarTailed Godwit. This bird was a first state record for Delaware when it was found at Bombay Hook on April 29th of this year, and then it was seen on 4 additional days throughout May before disappearing. After that, one was being seen over at Forsyth in New Jersey. It was last seen in New Jersey on July 4th, and then this bird showed up back at Bombay Hook on July 6th. So presumably it's the same bird that was moving around, but in any case, really exciting to track this one down after thinking that I had missed it in the spring. Godwits are large shorebirds, and the most distinctive thing about them is they have long bills that are slightly upcurved. And this bird was hanging out with short-billed dowitchers, and the godwit was much larger, so it was easy to pick out. This bird was found by some other observers at the north end of Sheerness, and we pulled in up there not knowing that they were on it, and they told us right away, and actually got the camera out and just waited and waited for it to fly, because the most distinctive thing to identify bar-tailed godwits is you want the flight shot so that you can see sort of the rump and tail area. This is really distinctive. You can see that barred tail, which obviously gives it its name. Also this big white rump area. Bar-tailed godwits have been in the news in recent years being documented as having one of the most incredible migrations of any bird species. They put transmitters on birds and were able to track them flying non-stop from Alaska to New Zealand, a distance of over 8,000 miles. This BarTailed Godwit that I saw actually does not come from that population, but rather this comes from the European population. Bird number 5 on the list is Whitefaced Ibis. I was there when someone spotted this bird out in front of the daily overlook on July 8th, and it stuck around until at least July 18th. Now, I should be clear, the white-faced ibis is this main bird in the photo that doesn't really have a white face, whereas the ibis in the background that does have some white on the face is a glossy ibis, which is the more expected species to see at Bombay Hook. In full breeding plumage, the white-faced ibis would also have a lot of white highlights on the face, but in the plumage that this one was in, the main thing we're looking at is sort of a pinkish face with a red eye. So if we compare them side by side in flight, we see that overall glossy ibis on the top and white-faced ibis on the bottom are similar in size and color, so the main thing we're looking at is the face. Again, on the white-faced ibis, it has a lot of pink with a red eye. And if we look at one more shot, we can see it with a few more glossy ibis. You can see that variation in the amount of white that the glossy ibis have on their face. But again, that white-faced ibis really stands out with the amount of pink with the red eye. There were a couple species I really wanted to see, and I was hoping if I went every day, one would eventually show up. And this one did. Number 6 on the list is World Sandpiper. World Sandpiper is an old world species that's very similar to our dunlin, both in the size as well as the shape and length of the bill. However, in breeding plumage, the coloration is very different. Whereas our dunlin have a lot of red on the back and a black belly, World Sandpiper has this really sort of brick red color to the entire breast. So it really stands out. Even when it was near dowitchers, which have a lot of orange to them, this is sort of a deeper red color. And the World Sandpiper is actually hanging out mostly with the peeps, so in this case, semi-palmated sandpipers. And you can see that the World Sandpiper is larger with a longer bill, and of course that red coloration stands out. And when it lifted its wings up, you can see it's really bright white here in the wing pit area, and as well as in the rump area. This bird stuck around for about a week, being seen from July 23rd to July 29th. And the last species on the list is another old world sandpiper. This is an adult female ruff. I saw this bird on July 29th, but actually there was a report of one 6 days earlier on July 23rd as well that only one observer got a brief look at before it flew off. This bird was seen in Raymond Pool, and it was only seen for a brief period in the morning, but being a Saturday, there were a lot of people around to see it. As far as identification goes, I think ruff looks most similar to our yellow legs, but there's a few main differences. One, just the overall shape. Ruffs are a little chunkier looking. Their bill looks a bit shorter, and their legs are kind of a brighter orangish color. It's not the yellow of the yellow legs. It's got a different color that really stood out when you looked at it in the good morning light. The other thing to look at is the tertials, which are these feathers here. The adult female ruff has barred tertials. And let me make one small point about shorebird identification, which is that when we're looking at birds in this kind of posture, for example, think of looking at a gull. Usually when we're looking at the feathers all the way at the back of the bird here, what we're seeing is actually the primary feathers. But on shorebirds, or at least most shorebirds, the primaries are mostly or completely covered by the tertial feathers. So here we don't even see the primaries at all. These barred feathers here are the tertials, and those can be a quite important feature when identifying different species of shorebirds. Another example would be telling juvenile short-billed dowitchers apart from juvenile long-billed dowitchers. Those are the feathers you're looking at. Okay, those were the 7 rarest bird species that I saw at Bombay Hook during the summer of 2023. And let me reiterate that most of these birds were found by others, even though me and Kim were spending a lot of time at Bombay Hook. The only one that I actually independently spotted was the ruff, and someone else down the line of cars actually must have spotted it at almost exactly the same time because they got it out on the text alert before I had a chance to. So it's a team effort birding at Bombay Hook, great birding community in Delaware, and a lot of people coming from out of state. And I learned so much just by going to Bombay Hook so much this summer and getting a lot of experience with shorebirds and other birds that I don't see too often at some of the other areas that I live throughout the year. So really enjoyed my time in Delaware. If you've never been to Bombay Hook National Wildlife Refuge, I highly recommend it. It's great pretty much the whole year. And I'm currently working on a free guide to birding at Bombay Hook that'll be up on the Lyco Birds website as soon as I finish that. So I'll put a link when that's available. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.